Hey, if you're enjoying the content here at Dennis Sperling Unfiltered, make sure you support it by sharing, and subscribing to the channel. And also, hit that little notification bell in the corner so that you'll get notice of each and every one of our live feeds. Hey, if you're enjoying the content here at Dennis Sperling Unfiltered, make sure you support it by sharing, and subscribing to the channel. And also, hit that little notification bell in the corner so that you'll get notice of each and every one of our live feeds.
What you want, what you gonna do when Sheriff John Brown come for you? What you gonna do when Sheriff John Brown come for you?
What's up?
Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? When you were 8 and you had bad traits, you got to school and learned the golden rule. So why are you acting like a bloody fool? If you get hot, then you must get cool. Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? You chuck it on that one, you chuck it on this one, you chuck it on your...
Welcome back to the broadcast. I hope you guys appreciate that. Shout out to Derek Monk. Thank you so much, man. Fair use, man. Shout out to everybody in the chat room. Thank you guys so much. It's always good to be here. Hit the #1 button, you guys, if you appreciate what we're doing here in these YouTube streets. We got the collaboration tonight that you didn't know you needed, man. I got my man coming back, Delete Laws, man. The guy that's on it. You guys might remember him from earlier this year. He ran up on some cops and had the cops afraid. And I immediately had to reach out to him and ask him to appear on my broadcast, and he did, and it was a great day. Now, here's the thing. You guys see the I know you see the thumbnail, them boys. Anybody who's had them boys on your ass, you know exactly what I'm talking about. When the cops pull up on you, when they see you in the street, you see them following you, and come over here, where you going? You already know what's happening. They on your ass. Okay, excuse the language, but there's no better description other than to describe it like that. All right. And what does that mean? What that means is the police are sizing you up. They're trying to figure out what they need to do to go about harassing you. And this seems to be something that Black men have had to deal with all the way back since the time of Malcolm X and before. And so here's the thing you got to understand. At some point, we need to begin to do something about it. But before we get started, I want you guys to go ahead and hit the #1 button, show your appreciation. Make sure you hit the #1 button. Shout out to all my people in the chat room. Where's my wrench mob at, man? Is the wrench mob here? I want all my wrench mob dudes to put a W up in there, man, for the wrench mob. So I know my moderators are here, because we got to make sure we got the moderators. This is what we call Manosphere 3.0, the politics of modern men. It's going to be probably what's it's probably going to be what the manosphere is known for. You know, for the first 10 years or so, we dealt with social issues, we dealt with dating issues, but at this point, it's time to grow up and deal with some stuff that's real serious. We want to go ahead and make our mark. So here's the thing. Like I said, man, big shout out to all my guys in the Wrench Mob, Chukui, Way, Breezy, Tristan Turner, William 3R. Who else we got in? Mile High Twin. Who else we got, man? We got so many guys. Pharaoh Ishmael. Shout out to all my guys who are members. Thank you guys so much. Hit the #1 button. Show your appreciation. And here's the thing. All right. Black men have had a significant history in the United States of leading the way for civil rights and people of color in general. And of course, disenfranchised people, which means even poor whites benefit from the hard work that Black Americans did. Nevertheless, if you read the great works of Thurgood Marshall, Martin Luther King, and some of these other civil rights leaders, they will tell you, hey, behind the scenes, they had all sorts of folks helping them out. All these brilliant minds came together. Yes, Black folks, Black men might be the face of the civil rights march and civil rights movement, but you got a lot of folks kicking in from behind. Of course, we put our skin in the game, but everybody was behind the scenes helping out for the betterment of the United States. Okay. And here's the thing. I don't think anyone in this country has more of a title to call themselves Americans than Black American men, especially considering that we died in droves in every major war in this country, and we volunteered for it, more likely than not. We wanted to go to World War II. We wanted to go to World War I and serve the War of 1812. So, and we've been here longer than most folks who came here in 1905. To all my white friends who are listening here, all the white folks, all the Latinos, all the Asians, remember, Black folks have been here since this country's inception. Many of you didn't come along till 1905 when from Eastern Europe, and others came in 1980s when Africans came from the continent. So we as Black Americans, we have a vested interest in this country. This is the country that we have. Our African brothers do not want us to come back over like that. Let's just keep it 100. So we really don't have anywhere else to go. So it behooves us to make this place a better place for our children and anybody else that comes behind us. Yeah, of course, we got passport bros and you can get in the wind and whatever, and that's all good. But we need to deal with some of these issues. And one of those issues is police brutality. Okay, police targeting, police enforcement, unjust treatment, and the unjust application of law. This has been a problem since the Honorable Frederick Douglass was here with us, and since Malcolm X and Dr. Martin Luther King, all the way up until present day. And it's high time that we as Black American men begin to do something about it. Now, those of you guys know these YouTube streets, there's absolutely no way you don't know who Dr. T. Hassan Johnson is. He is an associate professor of Africana Studies at California State University, Fresno. He founded numerous Fresno State programs, including the Africana Studies Online teleconference on Black Male Studies, the Onyx Black Male Film Festival, the Black Popular Culture Lecture Series and Online Research Archive, the Onyx Black Male Collective, and the annual Ashe Sankofa Black Film Festival, the annual Africana Studies Black Gender Conference, the African American Edge Initiative, the Africana Studies Black Elder Project, and the Hip Hop Research Interview Project. And he is also the developer of the 14-point Black Male Political Agenda. He and 20,000 members of the Black Brotherhood of the Brothers came up with these brilliant ideas. And it is believed that the ideas proposed should identify and target the audience when drafted into policy, Black males. It should be made up unapologetically and clear that these are not just for people of color, but for poor people. So again, we continue that tradition. So let's hit the #1 button for Dr. T. Hassan Johnson. Hit the #1 button. Big shout out to Dr. T. Hassan Johnson for that. And so what I've noticed is a lot of these folks are now saying, hey, what do Black men want? They are the keys to this vote. If we want to get in, we need to know what Black men want. So what I've done is I've taken his 14-point idea and I've analyzed it. And one of the things I focus on is the law enforcement. Why would I do that? Well, of course, for many of you guys, you know, I'm a trial lawyer, and I've been practicing law going on 3 decades. And so because of that, I have a vested interest. Well, I understand the point of view more so than perhaps a lay person. Now, I don't want to go into all 14 points, but I do want to go into the points focused on by the 14-point black male agenda. And you can find it on his website. You can find it everywhere associated with Dr. T. Hassan Johnson. Now, a couple of things that they mentioned, right, are, and they're very important. The things they mentioned: criminal sentencing reform, we can agree with that. Licensing law enforcement, we can agree with that. Proxy violence, which is, you go to this, basically having other people do your dirt for you. Qualified immunity, jury nullification, dealing with false accusations, and minimum age of criminality, responsibility, and lastly, in law enforcement collaboration. Okay. Now, here's the thing. One of the things I've learned from Delete Laws, and I'm going to bring him in a minute, is that unless you deal with Terry versus Ohio, none of that matters. And Delete Laws is going to come in here shortly and explain to us in detail exactly why Terry versus Ohio is important. But here's what I want you to keep in mind. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Everything you see up there is cure. But what we want to focus on is the prevention. And if we are able to reform Terry versus Ohio through legislation and have it deemed unconstitutional, if we're able to come up with laws to say, hey, this is not the way in which you deal with this, we eliminate the police contact, because it's Terry versus Ohio that allows police officers to have a gateway into your life. And that's what we want to end. Okay. Now, without further ado, I want to invite my good friend and yours from these YouTube streets. Man, let's get our man. Big hand for Delete Laws. Welcome back, Delete Laws. Always good to have you here, man. What's up, man?
Uncle D. So good to see you.
It's always good to see you too, man. You got the chalkboard ready. I mean, you got it ready back there, man. So you guys, I always tell you, like, this is some PhD level stuff. My fiance is in law school, and I can promise you that her criminal law professor who teaches criminal procedure is not going to go in depth as Delete Laws will right here. So break out your notepads. I want y'all to listen very carefully. I've already laid the foundation. Delete Laws, go ahead, man. I might chime in and ask questions. The floor is yours, brother.
Okay, so you know how you always will go to a group of people and you always want to give someone like a nugget of information that they can take away from you, where you're at a party or a get together, wherever you are. So what I want to give you, because Uncle D's audience is a predominantly black male audience, I want to give you this little nugget that every time you hear someone say, "What's your reasonable articulable suspicion?" you are perpetuating Terry versus Ohio. Mm-hmm. And so when Uncle D was talking earlier that Terry versus Ohio is unconstitutional, what exactly did he mean? Like how can you have a Supreme Court holding called Terry versus Ohio in 1968 and at the same time say that it goes against your constitutional rights? It goes against the first 10 Amendment. It goes against your Fourth Amendment to be free in your person. And what exactly does Terry do that Uncle D would tell you guys that it's unconstitutional? So the first thing is you always go back to the very founding of our country and you say, what are my rights? What are my rights? If you don't know your rights, now, if you guys follow me from Uncle D leading you over to the trail here, you've watched me back down 20 cops. And people will chime in and say, if you were black, you couldn't do that. I'm not going to lie. 1990, you're right. 2000, probably. 2010, getting better. 2020, nah. If you know the rights, like I know the rights, right there's the equalizer. There it is. Don't be afraid. As soon as you moment, officer, I'm recording. It's my First Amendment right here. It's my First Amendment right to record. I'm going to record everything, officer. Right in his face. Respectfully, officer, I'm going to record everything. Right in the face. So now your First Amendment right should ensure your constitutional right not to be Terry stopped. And so Uncle D was telling you that's unconstitutional. So what does he mean? Your Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments, your first big freedoms is RAPS, R-A-P-P-S, religion, assembly, petition, press, speech, RAPS. What are your first big 5 freedoms? RAPPS, RAPS, religion, assembly, press, petition, speech. There's my first one. Now I know it. I can tell the officer, I have a right to tell you I'm filming you. Camera goes up as soon as I see a cop. Up. Don't give me some panty waist video where I'm gonna teach you guys a lesson. Ready? So then in 1803, Marbury versus Matt. How do you want to see it? I want this. I want his face on camera.
Right.
I have a right to do it. Don't be intimidated. Okay. So now your Fourth Amendment right, it's right down here. It says right here. See across the top? The right of the people. The Fourth Amendment is the right of the people to be secure in their person, houses, papers, and effects. Right. Against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated. I got the right. I got the right to stand here and face you. I don't have to sit on a curb. You don't have dominion over me. You're detaining me? Fine, I agree to be detained. This is your superpower. I agree to be detained, officer. Please don't touch me. I don't have any weapons. I don't agree to consensual searches. I don't agree to any consensual searches.
Okay.
That's it. Put your feet up. Put your camera up. Okay. Now, Uncle D says that you can get in trouble with Terry v. Ohio because it's unconstitutional. What does Terry do? I have the right for you not to touch me. The only way through the history of time that's ever been a factor, and the reason why I am the most powerful force on the universe, is because I got a camera, just like you do. Right. I know my rights inside and out, Uncle D.
Let me give them some background on Terry versus Ohio, because some folks may not even know what that is. So when Delete Laws refers to as Terry versus Ohio, he's referring to a criminal law case that went up to the Supreme Court of the United States. So here's a little background history. On October 31st, 1963, it was Halloween Day, about 2 p.m. in the afternoon. The police officer, Martin McFadden, was on duty downtown Cleveland, Ohio, when he noticed 2 black men standing on a street corner. Now, they don't say black men, but we know it was black men. One of the men, his name was John W. Terry. He walked down the street, looked through a certain a store window, and then he continued on before turning around and returning to where he started, stopping on his way back to look in another store window. So basically, you got a black man window shopping in downtown Ohio in 1963. Now, understand, in 1963, things are not like 2022. You know, you just got used to integration. You know, there are still folks who are around who have certain feelings and distinctions between races. So, you know, and people don't leave that just because they put on the badge. But nevertheless, another man named Richard Chilton, he repeated Terry's movements. Another black man, McFadden, the cop, watched the pair, both men, repeat the same routine about a dozen times.
Now, Danny, Uncle D.
Yeah.
Stop.
Go ahead.
You're giving me some whitewashed version of history.
Well, I'm giving it to him. I want to lay if you can come in. I want you to come in and clean it up. Go ahead. What is Wikipedia not telling us? Go ahead.
Wikipedia, it's not true. It's a whitewashed version of history.
Mm-hmm.
It's William Archibald Dunnan. Bullshit. Okay. Terry is mentally ill.
Oh, okay.
And it's 1963, downtown Cleveland, Halloween day, Euclid, baby.
Mm-hmm.
You dress to the nines and you look good. Okay. We don't have no spooks running around down here in the day.
Okay. Right.
John Terry's mentally ill. He's going to be confined to a mental institution from the time he gets out of prison for the rest of his life. He'll die there. Going to the grave saying he wasn't going to rob anything. Okay.
Now the cops say he was casing the joints. That's what they were saying.
John Terry's milling around a black guy downtown. Mm-hmm. He's not supposed to be there. Wild-eyed and bushy-tailed.
Now, when you say he's not supposed to be there, you don't mean you don't mean he has he's legally not supposed to be there. In the cop's mind, because he's black, he's not supposed to be there. Go ahead.
Martin McFadden has been a cop since 1924.
Mm-hmm.
From 1924 to 1954, the primary functionality of police is to enforce black codes. You're not supposed to be around here. Right. And we desegregate officially Brown versus Board of Education 54, right. But there's no real solid segregation until 64. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's happening, but you know your place. And hey, kid, I like him. Don't bring him in our neighborhood.
Right. So,
you're friends. You know, you're friends with Dennis. Dennis is cool. Just don't bring him to the house.
Right. Yeah. So let's throw some more at you, and you debunk this. So the cop said he came and patted him down and saw it, and there was a gun in his possession. He didn't see him commit a crime. There was no probable cause to believe he committed a crime. He just saw a guy walking down the street, looking in some windows. He's saying that looks suspicious to me. But he had no reason to run up on him and pat him down. He patted him down. There was a gun on him. And then I believe he said he patted down the other guy and there was a pistol on him too.
Stop right there, Uncle D. Stop right there real quick. Okay, guys. Uncle D has just identified the exact crux of what Terry versus Ohio is about. Mm-hmm. Do the police have the right, in the name of officer safety, if they see you, remember, if they see you in 1963, they see you, does the cop have the right, in the name of officer safety, to be able to run up and Terry stop you? Mm-hmm. And it's going to be called a Terry stop.
Right.
Where they get to grab you, a violation
of the Fourth Amendment.
Of your Fourth Amendment right to be secure in your person, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures.
All right. So let's explain that to these folks. Reasonable. Okay, we all know that the cop can't come in your house without a search warrant. And in order to get a search, I know there's extenuating circumstances. You're chasing some crook. There's an emergency. Got it. But just for the purposes, if they don't have reasonable suspicion, if they don't know anything about your house, if they don't have probable cause, they can't come in unless there's some sort of emergency. All right. So imagine the cops saying, I can't Terry stop you. I can't search you unless I have probable cause. That's a high burden. Reasonable suspicion can be something they just made up in their head because you just look like you don't belong here. You're dressed funny, you're the wrong color. They'll never tell you that, but they can add all of these different factors in together and say, hey, I had reasonable suspicion. Go ahead, delete laws.
Okay. Every single term that Uncle D just used directly relates to a Supreme Court case or constitutional law. Well, the Supreme Court cases are constitutional law. So when you say reasonable articulable suspicion, that's a made-up term that they just made up in the 60s because they want to be able to grab this guy. I tell it to my viewers, mostly white boomers. They don't like it when I say it. Some of them. Most people are not racist, but some of them are stuck in their ways and racist, sure. But it's a racist holding based on being able to grab John Terry. So he said reasonable articulable suspicion. I started off my speech by saying you can now tell people that reasonable articulable suspicion is based on racism created by the member of the KKK, Hugo Black, on the Supreme Court. He's on the Supreme Court. He's the one that questions the John Terry's lawyer.
Very, very familiar with him. Yes, sir.
So now he also said, unless there's an emergency, they can't stop you. That comes from Kerr versus United States in 1925. Mm-hmm. Exigent circumstances. They can grab you. If there's an emergency, they can violate your rights. And then what was the other one you said, Captain? You said...
if hot pursuit, they're in pursuit of a crook or criminal or something. He ran in your house. Right.
What are the three parts of the 1925 holding called Kerr versus United States? Mm-hmm. It creates the exigent circumstances clause. This is where they're allowed to go around the warrant and can just search your car without a warrant based on there's a hot pursuit. They got to get evidence or there's going to be a loss of life.
But other than those exigent circumstances, they have to have probable cause. So
it's an emergency, Denny.
Right. But so Terry versus Ohio gave the police officers a walk around. I no longer need probable cause because I have reasonable suspicion. And if I look at these different factors and I put them together, hey, I'm here. I'm going to stop you and pat you and frisk you down. And here's the kicker. I'm patting you down for my safety.
Well,
I walked across the street to harass you and put myself in your face. And now I'm going to pat you down for my safety, even though I could have stayed across the street and been perfectly fine because I hadn't seen you commit a crime. But I'm just going to walk across the street. That's the BS associated with Terry versus Ohio. But here's the thing, because I want to give these guys some meat to go home with. So the trial lawyer did what he was supposed to do. He filed a motion to suppress the evidence because there was no probable cause to stop these gentlemen. But the district court said, no, well, I'm going to deny your motion. We're going to let the evidence in. And so the evidence of the pistols came in there. And I don't know the gun rights laws back then in 1963, but they may have very well had a right to have a concealed weapon at that time. I don't know. I'd have to check it. But either way, he hadn't committed a crime. He was just carrying a concealed weapon. And so now he's in jail. He's going in for that. They didn't exclude the evidence. It's in the record. The jury seat, the judge denied the motion. And, because they presumed they had a legal right to do it. That went all the way up to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court said, yeah, that's cool. We're with that. And now we got cops able to just run up on you as long as they have a reasonable, articulable suspicion, which is a lot, and this is the thing, and this is what I want y'all to hear. That is what gives them a gateway into your life. It is unconstitutional on its face. It's unconstitutional in the way it's applied, especially disproportionately towards Black and brown folks. And so what we have to do is come up with some kind of legislation, or not some kind. We have to put force and effort and we have to push our legislator to come up with some legislation to make sure this thing gets overturned. Go ahead, Delete Laws. What would you like to add to that?
Well, I mean, you didn't say a single thing I disagreed with. Right. I loved every bit of it. But just remember, there's no such thing as reasonable, articulable suspicion when your camera's out.
Right.
I'm going to teach classes on YouTube of how to film. This is your gold. This is your golden ticket. If you ever watched any of my videos, you've seen me do it. Like, I own them.
Here's the thing, Delete Laws. I want there to be an institutional change. I want to take away cops' rights to even stop and frisk. If you don't have probable cause, nothing. You get nothing. And there are some states, I think there's at least one state that has done away with Terry versus Ohio. And so what do you propose? But here's the thing. Give them, Terry versus Ohio was a gateway. What else did it lead to? Go ahead.
Oh my God.
So right. Here you go. Go ahead. This is why I bring this guy in here. Let's give a hand to Delete Laws. Give him what this opened the door to. This Pandora's box. What did it do?
So we got to go back to the beginning. Remember what I said? You opened the door to warrantless searches and seizures in 1925 case of Kerr versus United States. Okay, that's where you can go, no warrant. As long as I think there's danger, if I say I'm chasing you, then you know what? I can skip your rights. So then that goes here into Kerr versus California, and Kerr is going to be the precursor for Terry versus Ohio. And in Kerr versus California, so a little bit of backlog. Mapp versus Ohio gives you the right to be, through the poisonous tree. They can't come in your house without a warrant. Right. Kerr versus California in 63 kind of just wipes that away with the knock and announce rule. The cops just say, knock, 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 I announce, hey, I'm here. And then they just come barging in, right? So it's using common law. Now, the extension into Terry versus Ohio is where this just gets absolutely freaking ill. This is ill. This is disgusting. This is really going to boil your blood because most of these guys over here, 90% of these guys over here are there because of Terry versus Ohio or the extensions.
Now, what Delete Laws is pointing to are all the men that have been shot and killed by police officers over the past several years. And
that's Breonna at the top. You got Breonna.
Either shot and killed or killed in custody or murdered in custody. George Floyd is up there in the tight. You got, Breonna Taylor in there, so
Caleb Slay.
Yeah.
Michael Brown.
Right.
Eric Valencia.
And all of that is allowed, all that police contact occurred under the auspices of Terry versus Ohio.
Let's not get me emotional. Let me get to the law. So Terry versus Ohio extends into a bunch of different things that directly affect your freedom. So the first one is going to be Pennsylvania versus Mims here. It's going to go directly to Pennsylvania versus Mims. Mm-hmm. And this is the one that says that you have to get out of the car. How come you got to get out of the car? In the name of officer safety.
Did you hear that? You hear that, guys? So Terry versus Ohio is the source of them saying you got to get out of your car. They pulled you over, and now you got to get out of your car and be what? Frisked and patted down.
Terry, stop.
So how pissed off are you at this point? See, this is the thing, Delete Laws. We got a lot of folks from overseas. You know, I got a lot of guys in the UK. Shout out to all my guys down in the UK, all my truck drivers down there. They don't understand the American police system. So we got a case called Terry versus Ohio, which basically says cops can run up on you and stop you for whatever damn reason they can think up when it's time to write the report. And from there, they say, well, not only can we stop you when you're walking, now we can stop you when you're driving, and we can pull you out of your car. We can pull you out of your car, and not only pull you out of your car when you're minding your business, but we can pat you down for whatever reason we think is reasonable. Okay? So this is imagine how pissed off you are at 5:30 in the afternoon. You've had a hard day of work. You're minding your business. You're on your way to the doggone water place to pay your bill, or the cell phone place. You're on your way to T-Mobile, and you're ready to go home, and then you got some cop who pulls you over, right? Because you look like somebody that looked like they did something.
You fit the description.
You fit the description. So this is where we are, folks. Now imagine being a black man, or or a Hispanic man for that matter, or an Arab guy,
or a white guy,
or a white guy, especially a poor-looking white guy. Imagine that. And now you're pissed, and they're telling, well, come on out, I'm gonna pat you down for my safety as a cop. But go ahead, take it from there. Go ahead. I'm just painting a colorful picture, and you go ahead and stick a pin in it with these cases. Go ahead.
It's on my trifold on deletelaws.com. Pennsylvania versus Mims. Here's the counter. Because you have to be a reasonable and prudent man who would believe that I'm both armed and dangerous for you to ask me to exit the car. So that's my defense. When the cop says get out of the car, I say a reasonable and prudent man, and I give him the exact case law of Pennsylvania versus Mims. I know it right there. And then I say, if you violate my rights, I will sue your ass to oblivion. And
now here's the thing, Delete Laws. Here's the thing. Armed and dangerous does not necessarily mean a gun. It could mean a pencil, a sharp pencil. You see what I mean? So look how ticky-tack you could have a doggone pocket knife or a hunting knife or a fishing knife, and they can just make, you see what I mean? So especially down here in Texas, they just making up stuff. You see what I'm saying? So it doesn't necessarily have to be a gun. It just opens the door. But remember, going back to Terry versus Ohio, Terry versus Ohio is the gateway.
Pennsylvania versus Mims.
Exactly.
If you do push back, make sure you stand strong and look confident, because he's not even going to know what Pennsylvania versus Mims is.
Probably not. So what's next? Yeah.
Now I can go. I'm going to skip a few years, because if you're the passenger in a car in the 2009 holding of Arizona versus Johnson, if you're the passenger in a car, if a reasonable and prudent man believes that the passenger of the car is armed and dangerous, as the passenger, you have to get out of the car. Arizona versus Johnson is an extension of Terry versus Ohio.
Did you guys hear that? Did you guys hear that? Hit the number 1 button if you heard that. Now, Terry versus Ohio, not only can they stop drivers, if you look like you're armed and dangerous, they can bring you out your car and pat you down. But now they can also bring grandma out the car and pat her down because she looked armed and dangerous. This is the gateway. Terry versus Ohio needs to be done away with legislatively. Okay, it's a clear violation of the Fourth Amendment. Our Fourth Amendment says you have the right to be safe and secure in your person and your effects and your homes. That is a clear violation of Terry versus Ohio. All done in the name of police safety. No crimes committed. They just, you look like somebody who might have done something. That's basically what it is. So please go ahead and proceed. And you guys hit the number 1 button and hit the thumbs up button if you appreciate this. This is PhD level stuff. Go ahead, sir.
Now, if you have to get out of or go through a DUI checkpoint, that's going to be your 1990 case of SITS versus Michigan State Police. SITS is going to lose, which is now going to legitimize DUI checkpoints in the United States, driver's license checkpoints. Any kind of checkpoint they want to put up now is from SITS versus United States. SITS versus United States is an extension of Terry versus Ohio because the cops have reasonable suspicion that someone out here is drunk driving.
All right, you got to explain to them tell them what this looks like, because we got folks that have no idea what a DUI they don't know. They cut off the road to one lane. They pull all the cars. It's 7 o'clock on a Friday night. Explain it to them. Give it to them like they're fifth grade.
So here in America, we do it like they did in Nazi Germany when they sectioned off the road to try to catch the Jews going through. But here what they're checking for is they're checking your chemical levels. And they're going to see if maybe you have something, alcohol, weed, anything else. Maybe you're on prescription pills. And if you don't agree to the testing, then your driver's license will be stripped away from you. And if you don't agree to the testing and the cop is just suspicious using Terry versus Ohio that just maybe you're on something, then they could do a mandatory blood draw where they'll strap you to a table and stick a needle in your arm and take your blood. That's it. That's all.
In the land of the free and the home of the brave, we know that this is not what our founders and those who wrote the Constitution, and this is not what they envisioned.
It's all made possible for Terry. It's all Terry versus Ohio.
You see, if you guys understand how unconstitutional Terry versus Ohio, just from this first 20 minutes, hit the #1 button. If you figured it out, your Fourth Amendment says you have the right to be safe and secure in your own persons. But if some cop who just thinks I have a reasonable, articulable suspicion, I can pull you over. I can pat you. I can pat you down if I see you walking down the street. I can pull you out the car and pat you down for my safety. I can pull the passenger out the car and pat you down for your safety. If I think somebody on the highway is drunk, I can create this barrier where nobody can drive through, and we're going to pull you out the car and ask you stupid questions as to how much you've been drinking. And if you don't answer right, or if I think your speech sounds slurred, even though you've been working all day and you're tired as hell, I can pull you out the car, give you a test called a sobriety test, which is subjective in itself. And if you don't agree to take a breathalyzer, I can put you in handcuffs, take you downtown, get a warrant, and then and stick you in the arm and take your blood. This is in 2022 in the United States. All right. So think about that. That sounds to me like it's unconstitutional, delete laws. I don't see why anyone else would see it. But go ahead. The floor is yours again, sir.
Well, and Uncle D, let me just add to that. There are statistics in this. Depends on just if you're going to get pulled out of the car during that inspection, see if you're drunk, just a little lighter you are, less likely it is. So
what our light-skinned friend is telling us, that if you are black, them laws is going to be on your ass. That's what he's telling you. That's why I put this up there. The laws are more likely to snatch your black behind out that car and give you a hard time. And this is what I say when I mean it is applied like Terry versus Ohio, and these laws on their face, they look like, okay, they're benign. So they're not unconstitutional. They're not discriminatory. But in the way in which they are applied in practice, cops are able to discriminate against people of color, poor folk, whatever. You see what I'm saying? And this is what we have to deal with. Go ahead. The floor is yours again, delete law.
And then, New York, when they say stop and frisk, say stop and frisk, just, that's Terry versus Ohio is what they're saying out loud. They're just not calling it Terry, but that's what New York is. So now it's one thing if they're just suspicious of you, if they're creating, this is the bullshit term of reasonable articulable suspicion. That's 100% based on racism. I'm sorry, but it is. And so now Terry versus Ohio extends right down here into Cortez versus the United States. Now, it's not just that I'm suspicious of you because I think that you did it. I'm suspicious of the circumstances of the scene. So, you're walking around here. There was a robbery here last week. The guy was wearing blue jeans. You're wearing blue jeans. Right. The totality of the circumstances creates my reasonable articulable suspicion in my mind.
And that's another beer. I've used that term so many times when I didn't have anything else to support my argument, even in the civil practice of law. So, okay, so delete laws. What's next? Like, what happened after those? What other infringements on your Fourth Amendment rights are flowing through the wall of the door of Terry v. Ohio?
Illinois versus Gates. Illinois versus Gates is a case. What it does is it overturns the Aguilar-Spinelli standard that was created in 1969. And what Illinois versus Gates specifically does is it says that the police, Aguilar-Spinelli, because it has two prongs, the police, when they got confidential informant information, they had to investigate the confidential informant and also you. Mm-hmm. But then what Illinois versus Gates did in 1983 is it said, well, the cops can just investigate you. Because once someone says something about you, regardless of Aguilar-Spinelli, that makes me suspicious. I'm suspicious of you. I have reasonable articulable suspicion about Denny now. Uncle Den, sorry, man. I need to investigate you now.
So, because I gotta bring this down where the cows can eat it. This asshole that you don't like across the street just said he or she thinks you got a gun and some dope on you. And just because they don't like you, now the cops can go out and pat you down and harass you. And heaven forbid you say, what are you, why are you harassing me? Now you're face down on the ground being handcuffed and punched in your back because they get suspicion because somebody told them you did something. Okay, so shout out to all the Karens. But this particular law, let's call that the Karen case, because this is the Karen case that empowers the Karens. Give me that name again so they'll know.
Illinois versus Gates.
Illinois versus Gates is the Karen case.
One source. Cops need one source.
One source.
Two sources. Illinois versus Gates, one source.
One Karen versus one. This is the Karen Ken case. All it takes is one Karen to get your ass hemmed up by the police. This is where we are. Go ahead.
If a dog barks, remember how you can be arrested. No warrant shall issue, but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation. Extension of Terry versus Ohio, reasonable articulable suspicion. If a dog barks, it upgrades to probable cause.
Wow.
You can be arrested because the dog barked, because that is now probable cause standard of dog barking.
So hold on, let me lay this. So the dog said you did it in dog language, and the police officers interpret, well, the dog must have saw something, or otherwise the dog wouldn't have barked. Heaven forbid. We know dogs don't bark unless they see crimes being committed.
Charlie.
So this is what Terry versus Ohio has done. I want you guys to really understand Terry versus Ohio. This is why, like, when I first spoke to delete laws or Chili, when I first spoke to Chili, I was like, man, this guy is passionate. But then it began to sink in because I was on that, oh, we just need to retrain the police. Oh, we just need to work with qualified immunity. That's after the fact. That you don't need to train the police not to shoot black people, white people. They don't need more police training. You see what I mean? What they need is we need a stopgap. We need a canyon between them being able to just make up stuff and attack you. Or what we need is for them to have to go back to what the Constitution says. And that's the Fourth Amendment. Go ahead.
Wait, Uncle Denny, wait. Okay, so here's just the bow and arrow. That's the sniper rifle, the home run rock throw where you hit the prey in the head and it falls, right?
Right.
Here it is. Terry versus Ohio makes me suspicious of you. I'm suspicious. You shouldn't be around. I'm suspicious of what you're doing around these parts right here.
Okay? Right.
I'm super suspicious. Graham versus Connor, which is not an extension of Terry, but this is your use of force laws.
Okay.
So now right here.
Let me lay the predicate. Terry versus Ohio gives them a gateway in. Now, bam, go. Graham versus Ohio. Go ahead and give them Graham versus Connor.
Graham, okay. This is why you're cool. Always cool. You ever watch me? Unless I'm in a town meeting, I don't raise my voice. I talk real cool, right? Okay. It gives them the right to determine the amount of force, the reasonable amount of force will be determined by the reasonable officer on the scene. That's Graham versus Connor. That's the law today. That's the law right now. You get involved with the cop and he says F you and you say F you And then he goes, you know what? I believed in my mind you were going to attack me. That's why I punched him.
I need you to explain that to them again, because like they don't get that. Tell them the the holding again. The reasonable amount of force is determined by the reasonable officer on the scene.
Okay, so
here's the thing. I say F you to the cop, which is my First Amendment right to do. Because of that case, it gives him a right to say hell with your First Amendment right. Now I have a right to whip out my taser, or worse yet, me and 4 other guys can whoop your ass, because that's the reasonable amount of force necessary, because you said F you. And if you said F you, that, oh my God, that must mean you're a dangerous person, because only really bad people who hit hard and can overtake a cop can say that. And this is what they're getting away with, fellas. This is the bastard stepchild of Terry versus Ohio. All right, because it allowed the gateway. Go ahead.
Let me give you 2 scenarios here.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first scenario is you're walking there, a cop walks up to you, says, I'm suspicious of you. There was a break in this house yesterday. They were wearing a gray shirt. You're wearing a gray shirt. And so I want to detain you. Meaning I can put you in handcuffs. I can do all these horrible things to you. And then from that position, you go, F you, mother effer. I ain't doing right. He then says, you know what? What I think about you, what you did yesterday, or just upon meeting with me, is relevant to the use of force that's reasonable to use on you. Mm-hmm. You see? So if I say I'm suspicious of you, you're being detained, and I go, F you, mama, right? He says, taser, boom, because he now believes that I was the make-bear robber that was there yesterday. Second scenario, cop has reasonable articulable suspicion, he says. Now he wants to detain you. There's unlimited amount of force he can use on you if there's no camera running.
Right. Well, I mean, the camera is just to capture him doing what he's doing.
But it's the only thing I've ever seen in the history of me studying anything in law and history.
Right.
The only equalizer is your camera.
Yeah, I mean, it's a witness. It's an eyewitness for everybody. Anybody who sees it, an eyewitness. But what I want to focus on is
changing the law.
Yeah, changing the law, systematic change. So let's take a quick break.
Terry plus Graham equals death. Terry means if I don't like you as a cop, I can target you. There's no cameras around. I walk up, I'm suspicious of you. There's a pizza burglar right here the other day, yesterday. There's no one around. He took a swing at me. I had to shoot him. Terry plus Graham equals cops can murder you. It's the worst combination that there is of any 2 laws.
Yeah. Let's take a quick break. We will be right back. You guys make sure y'all hit the number 1 button. Show your appreciation by hitting the number 1 button, hitting the thumbs up button. And y'all type delete laws in the chat room because we appreciate it. We'll be right back with Chile, delete laws. Welcome back. So I guess my man Delete Laws took a little quick break, but that's okay. If you guys appreciate what we're doing, you guys make sure you show your appreciation by hitting the thumbs up button. I need like about 15 subscribers and I'll be at 52,000 folks. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, I certainly would appreciate if you subscribe to the channel. Your subscriptions are greatly appreciated. This is fun. I know, hey, you know what? It's exciting to me. I know some folks are like, come on, why don't you talk about what they're talking about on TMZ? This can save your butt from getting whooped on. Okay, this is more important than TMZ. All right. And again, I want to stay focused. This is why we need to have this 14-point program put in place, but specifically explain, and I have some ideas here. I'll qualified immunity to me. See, now that they got a gist of Terry versus Ohio, we've been screaming at them for about the past 30 or 40 minutes about Terry versus Ohio. the thing about qualified immunity, that's what happens after you get to the court. That's not prevention. You know, there's an old saying, an ounce of cure is worth a pound of prevention. I mean, I'm sorry, an ounce of prevention, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So Terry versus Ohio, you get the legislator involved with that. You get rid of that. Now you've prevented this thing from happening. Qualified immunity is great. It's a mechanism. If you get rid of it, it allows you to punish cops better or easier. But what you do is you want to stop the contact. You want to stop their ability to legally make contact with you. Go ahead and kind of explain to them the difference. And we appreciate qualified immunity doing it. Yeah, you could do away with that, but you know, that's not going to stop you from getting killed, shot, or getting your butt whooped on the side of the road, or stop cops from frisking your grandma and your girlfriend in the passenger seat when you get pulled over. Go ahead, Delete Laws. Maybe explain that to them.
So let me just, what has happened on YouTube has been amazing. There's been a bunch of people who came out, they turned on the camera, they walked up to cops. If you guys haven't seen, you know, I've backed down 20 cops, and I'm, you know, one of the top in the game of flexing my rights to these cops. But what happened on YouTube specifically is these bunch of really brave guys and girls who went out there and audited cops, they didn't really understand constitutional law. Strong-willed, heavy-sacked, you know, big, I can't, you know, strong women. I almost said something different.
Right.
And you know, they paved the road for guys like me and a new level of activist that understands qualified immunity. In my book is number 6 or 7 in Supreme Court cases, because what's the first interaction? The violence of you're detained. Detainment is a part of Terry versus Ohio. There's no such thing. It's based on racism. That's the initial contact with you, is I'm going to violate your right to be secure in your person. I don't have any probable cause. And so I'm going to say that you're detained. Now, if you watch my videos, I say, if you can't tell me your probable cause, I'm not detained. And I'll tell them straight up, no, because I know my rights. So you want to make sure that you know what a probable cause standard is. When people say, what do you want from your government? You want them to uphold your rights, and you want a Fourth Amendment standard, not a Terry standard where I can go sign up to the police academy right now. And in 6 weeks, I'll be saying, I'm suspicious of you, whoever I want.
Now, see, the thing is, and I want the folks to understand, if the cops have probable cause to believe you committed a crime, that's your ass. You got to go along with that. Okay. What we're trying to do is stop folks. We're trying to stop cops from Terry stopping you. And then when you get out of line with them, now you're being arrested for resisting arrest.
And let me take it a step further than that.
Go ahead.
No victim, no crime. The second part of the Fourth Amendment, one part says you have the right to be secure in your person, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated. And the second part, what Uncle Denny just said, was unless you've committed probable cause, meaning you've broken the law. So committed. So and then right here, and no warrant shall issue, but upon probable cause supported by oath or affirmation of the victim of your crime. Right now, there's lots of victims of the state where there is no actual victim other than you. You're the victim. You walked across the street when the light wasn't green, but there was nobody around. Doesn't matter. The cops saw you. Things like that. So we have to go back to the no victim and there's no crime. Fourth Amendment standard.
Yeah. All right. What else would you like to tell them let's create an ideal, you and I, Senator Delete Laws and, his counsel, Dennis Sperling, are sitting in his senatorial building in Washington, D.C., and we're about to propose this bill. What does the legislation look like that outlaws Terry versus Ohio? Let's get it.
Stop and frisk is unconstitutional, and you have to have a probable cause standard to stop somebody. To stop a person, in other words, I saw you grab the Twix and go running out, ridiculous, but I saw you punch Uncle D. That's probable cause. Your girlfriend showed me her bruised face. That's probable cause. So, and that's what are we looking at domestically? We're looking at a domestic violence thing where look, There's some guys who beat their wives. It's disgusting. There's some women who want to win the argument. And you pushed me. Now, 911 equals there's a victim who swears by oath that you touched them and battered them. One of you has to go to jail. Who's it going to be?
Probable cause, right?
That's probable cause. So the whole system is a little convoluted right now in so many different ways.
Basically, all we want to do is go back to somebody who saw you commit the crime, as opposed to some cop pulling up on you saying, yeah, I think you know, I have reasonable suspicion that you might commit a crime or you're about to commit. No crime has been committed. So do you guys, I want this audience to understand that, right?
There's after Terry. There's your prison system right there. Okay.
Yeah.
Terry versus Ohio, if you line it up with the chart, it's right there. There's Terry versus Ohio. Come straight down. There's your prison system after Terry plus the war.
Oh my God. See, now you've opened this thing up, and now my mind is racing. Everybody talks about, oh, it's a conspiracy. The prison industrial complex is a conspiracy. Do you see how, in order to increase police contact, that somehow conveniently benefits the prison industrial complex because they get paid more money for housing bodies? And they've created this animal that needs to be fed. So let's just play with the laws a little bit, even if we're infringing upon people's constitutional rights. You know what? We'll just go after the undesirables. And then that way it won't be a big deal. Do you see where the money is? And see, what you just showed us is the money trail.
So let me make it even grosser for everyone.
I wonder how many of those justices and Supreme Court justices at the time invested in the stock market, invested in those companies that were benefiting from prison. I just wonder. But go ahead. I'm just saying, follow the money trail.
Richard Nixon declares war on drugs. In 1983, in Harper Bazaar magazine, John Ehrlichman says that he did it to arrest blacks and hippies who opposed the Vietnam War. He would later be
don't forget the weed smokers. Go ahead.
Hippies, blacks and hippies.
Right,
yeah. Any peacemongers. Yeah. And so then he declared war on drugs in 1971, which is still in effect today. And then we arrested so many people. He had to step down, got pardoned. Ronald Reagan then called all of his buddies. It's a company now called Core Civic. You can look it up. It's a huge multi-billion-dollar corporation.
Core Civic. Look it up. The biggest industrial prison complex deal in the world.
His buddies invest in it, Ronald Reagan's. And he says, we're going to create for-profit prisons, boys. And all of his buddies make tons and tons of money.
Did you hear that? You guys hear that? So your politicians, right? Your politicians, many of them, those who supported this, earn money because of your incarceration. So there's an incentive to do what? There's an incentive to have cops stop and frisk you, because the more contact they have, the more likely they can get an arrest. The more arrests, that's more money for lawyers, more money for judges, more money for prison systems. Do you see that, folks? I hope you guys are following. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist, and I know delete laws is not one either. We're just giving you the law. This is your constitutional law. This is your Supreme Court on a platter. Go ahead, Chili. I apologize.
So no, you're good. Thanks, Uncle D. I appreciate it. So now, as you climb the ladder, Joe Biden, you know that 1994 crime bill they talked about?
1994 crime bill. There it is. Go ahead.
It is still murder to this day. This is what funds cops. The 94 crime bill that he wrote, he is haunting us to this day, and he doesn't even understand how bad it is. So what he did is he maximized cops with the 94 crime bill using what's called the COPS program right here, COPS program. And what that does is it puts new cops on your streets every day. If they just ask for them, the commander, captain, major, whatever they call them, they say, hey, we need more cops, and the COPS program funds them, and they have to go be cops in your neighborhood.
Now here's the thing, delete laws. I believe in law enforcement. I believe in fair law enforcement. I believe in, because you can't live in a civilized society without cops, man. We agree on that. We cannot live in a civilized society. Hell, look at what's going on in California. Look at what's going on in New York. I mean, we need police officers.
We need peace officers.
Peace officers.
They all sign a peace officers agreement, and we need to stop law enforcing, and then move to a more camera system, and then get the people who actually do bad things using the camera system.
Yeah, I don't want to be in a country or a city or a town where there's no body there to police the crooks and criminals.
No, there's always the term, Denny.
Right.
The term police, cop, law enforcer, those got to go. They all sign a peace officers agreement. There's no such thing as a law enforcer in America. There's no law enforcement agreement.
But for the purpose of the conversation, you understand what I mean? I mean, the
Yeah, but
people
even
that keep the
look
peace.
how your it's conditioning, Denny.
Good point. Good point. Right.
So we still accept this law enforcers.
Right.
We can never move to a transparent camera system as long as we have law enforcers, because you get in a fight with your wife, she smacks you in the face, cops come, right? And then with their cameras, if we run 360 cameras on cops because they keep on killing people, right? Then if they see a packet of Coke on your table, instead of dealing with the couple problem they have here, now they're arresting you for having Coke. They look at the camera 2 days later.
They got probable cause though. I mean, they got probable cause. So I get that, right?
We got to get rid of law enforcers, and that's my big push coming up in the next quarter.
When he says we got to get rid of law enforcers, he doesn't mean get rid of all police officers. He means change your mind frame. We want peace officers, people that keep the peace, not people who want to enforce laws when there's no laws that need to be enforced. I think that's what you're saying, right?
There's going to be a guy that beats his wife because he cheats on her, she cheats on him.
We got to stop. You're gonna get me. Hey, you're gonna get me banned from YouTube with all these DV references.
There's going to be someone who has to be tackled. There's going to be someone who has to be shot. Sorry. Sad. True.
So let's do this. I want you to kind of just tell us again. Let's kind of go back to that scenario. We're in the legislative office. I say, okay, you say we got to write Terry versus Ohio is illegal. How about we change the language and say a police officer in this state or these United States cannot unlawfully stop or detain a citizen without probable cause. And that what that does in that legislation, it does away with reasonable articulable suspicion. We just say that. We reinforce that in legislation. That way we don't have to mention Terry versus Ohio. We just legislate it out of existence or deem it unconstitutional. Now that's going to go up on the Supreme Court and they're going to say, well, what did they mean? What we meant was the Fourth Amendment says you got to have probable cause. A person is safe in their person's effects and things. And I think that would be a good, clean way to do it. And that could be a state by state thing. I know there's a state that doesn't go by that doesn't adhere to Terry versus. Do you know? I can't remember.
Wyoming. I don't remember though.
Wyoming. Okay, that makes sense.
I could be incorrect. Internet sleuths, please correct me.
Somebody do me a favor. We need Chili and I need a favor. We need somebody to go online. Which state does not adhere to Terry versus Ohio? Do that real quick for me. Y'all let me know. Do that real quick. I want to know. He says it's Wyoming. I'm gonna go with that because that's a cowboy state.
Uncle D, let me just say something. Let's just play fantasy.
Okay.
So right now, snap our fingers. Terry versus, right? Okay. Yeah. It's unconstitutional. Steve's unconstitutional by the Supreme Court, which is a bunch of unelected goons. But anyway.
Oh God.
So, you know what happened?
I'm admitted to the Supreme Court. Come on, man. But go ahead. Just
90% of them would be alive. 90% of those were Terry stops. George Floyd would be alive. Breonna Taylor was killed by Wilson versus Arkansas. That's how she was killed. Tennessee versus Garner. This is where the cops can shoot you when you're running away if they believe that officer safety is in jeopardy. Officer safety. So you just go down your gambit. I mean, it's like there's nothing about Atwater versus City of Lago Vista, 2001. This one says that any violation in front of a cop, you can be arrested for. Doesn't matter what it is. Atwater versus City of Lago Vista, 2001. They arrested a woman because her kids weren't in a seatbelt. And so they wanted to put her kids at DFYS, but the neighbors ran out and grabbed the kids, said, no way. They arrested her. The husband went down there, mad as hell, sued, went to the Supreme Court, and they said, no. You get arrested for anything. It's not a violation of your Fourth Amendment.
Wow. All right, well, look, let's take a quick break. We'll come right back. We're going to talk about some other ideas. I want to dig a little deeper into the idea of having cops take out insurance policies so hardworking Americans and taxpayers don't have to continue paying for their, for these huge settlements, because that's not fair to us. So what we're going to do is we're going to hang out here with Chili /Delete Laws for a little bit longer. Y'all make sure y'all hit the #1 button. And you know what time it is, man? It is time for roll call. Now, I know we got some Delete Laws fans in here, man.
Yeah.
I know Delete Laws spent some time in sunny Southern California. And it's time for roll call. So everybody check in, represent your town, your neighborhood, your country. I want to see y'all do that, man. We'll be right back, but make sure you check in. Shout out to all my folks overseas, all my folks here in the USA. We'll be right back.
Hey, I'm about to show you something. Get enough?
What's up? Uncle D's out there hitting switches, man. Shout out to Louisiana, man. Shout out to Columbia, South Carolina, Ohio. Beantown is in the house. Vegas, Baytown, Texas. That's what's up. Forest City, Arkansas, Pittsburgh. Love Pittsburgh. That's one of my favorite cities. Omaha, Nebraska, San Jose, California. Who else we got in? Los Angeles is deep in here, man. Who else we got? Cleveland is up in here, man. Shout out to Ohio, man. Y'all been heavy. Y'all getting a lot of mentions tonight. Denver, Colorado, man. I appreciate you guys, man. Shout out to everybody who's been contributing to the super chat. Y'all been a little light tonight. That's okay. I think you've been thinking too deep. You didn't want to miss anything. I get that. But make sure you contribute if you appreciate this sort of content, man. We're doing our best to bring this information to you. And see, here's the thing. Here's the power of the internet. The power of the internet, you got people like Delete Laws and Dennis Sperling who can get together in a common goal, and that's educate the people. You don't have to go through a CNN producer, a MSNBC producer, a Fox producer. You can come right here and look at this. This is why we're getting more views than many of those major corporations, those major channels. And I promise you, they spend a whole lot more money than I do. It's just me in a suit talking to a dude on the internet that's into these boring constitutional law cases, but which could save your life. So if you guys appreciate what we're doing, man, y'all make sure y'all contribute to the super chat. I shouldn't have to ask, but this is great stuff. I think you're learning. I think they're learning Delete Laws. Here's the thing. What else, if you could snap your fingers, what else could we do to prohibit police brutality? Matter of fact, you know what I think it's important we do? Tell them how you got involved in this, how you became so passionate about this subject. Because, man, I'm telling you, you are like a defense attorney out there, man. How did you become so passionate about this? How'd you get involved in this?
Well, let me be honest. So far, since I've waded into court without people who are not holding my hand, I've lost because I don't know court procedure yet.
That's how we keep you guys out. That's how we keep you. You know the substantive law, but you don't know the procedural. And let me tell you, that's like having a train and not have any tracks. You're just gonna lay off to the side of the road. That's what lawyers do. I'm going to
spend the next 2 years learning, Uncle D. I'm going to spend the next 2 years learning.
Go ahead. It's like trying to speak Spanish and you don't know the grammatical structure or how to pronounce the word. What was the question,
Uncle D? I'm sorry.
What got you involved in this, man? How did you become so passionate? We all can see the passion. Do we see the passion? Yes. How did this become something so important to you? That's what we want to know.
I was no-knock rated in 2002.
They don't know what that means. My guys in UK, they have no idea what that means.
Okay. So a no-knock raid on your home is where the police get a probable cause warrant based on, for me, it was Illinois versus Gates, that case I talked about in 1983. that lowered the standard as to how police could get a warrant for you or what probable cause was. They
Right.
only had a confidential informant who told them that I was a drug dealer. And so then I was fighting MMA. And so they literally showed pictures. They showed me the photos trailing me, and they followed me to MMA fight training.
Mm-hmm.
And then, since they said that I could be a danger to them, Wilson versus Arkansas, 1995, they can no-knock raid my apartment. So they knock raided me and with a SWAT team. And
All right.
so that
They don't know what you mean. What they meant is the cops kicked down his front door with guns ablazing to his surprise. Literally, you got all these cops who just kicked in your door because somebody said something. This I don't know what time of day it was, but usually they come in the middle of the night. That's what I'm saying. Go ahead. That's what he's saying for you guys in the UK and Australia, because they can't fathom that. All right.
Oh,
ahead,
I mean, I think they can in Australia now, but
wow.
They raid your house in full military gear, and they have the high-powered rifles that have laser scopes. So when they kick your bedroom door open, you know, I was completely naked, and I had my hands above. I heard the door hit. I knew, put my hands up, and then next thing I know, 2 seconds, there's lasers all over my eyes. And it made me, and before that, I had been really abused by cops, arrested a bunch of times before the camera phone. You know, I'm a little bit older than I look. You know, I'm 48. So before there was a camera on every phone, if the cops treated people badly, I would say to them, you know, what I thought. And so I was then detained using the torture cuffs that they use on people today, you know. And
torture cuffs, he means handcuffs, but I get it. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, they're made for slaves. Handcuffs were made for slavery. So I made a video about this. You know, that's why we have handcuffs. The shorter the chain, the worse the slave's behavior had been. So, you know, you might have a chain that just goes to right here where you can't eat or drink anything, or you might have a chain that goes actually to your mouth. And then
let me take an opportunity to say something to these. I think there's a lot of haters in here.
I have trolls, Denny.
Look, I like Delete Laws. Some of you are complaining about him suing people. I've sued people on YouTube. Matter of fact, they call me the Blizzard King because I bring the winter. Matter of fact, some folks call me the bounty hunter because I look for little YouTubers to break you off. So if you don't like him, you're damn sure not going to like me. And I don't have to get a lawyer. I am a lawyer. So you're not going, and see, here's the thing, man. Here's the thing. Here's like, this man is giving you a bit of his brilliance. And I'm telling you he's brilliant, and I'm brilliant. I got a perfect score on the bar examination the first time I took it. And I'm telling you, this gentleman knows more about criminal law than I did at that time. And so kudos to him for taking his time to come here and speak to you. Now, I don't know who you folks are, but Black American men, we need this education. See, we don't have people, we have a lot of preachers, you know, we got a lot of politicians, we got a lot, but we don't have scholars who will come on and say, you know what, this is why you need to overturn Terry versus Ohio, fellas, because it is the gateway that allows these cops who have these prejudice and racist tonations to come and attack you. It is the key in which allows them to do that legally. Now, you can be as racist as you want to be, but what I want you to do is leave me alone. It's like, okay, you know what? You might call me the N-word, but as long as you're not messing with my ability to take care of myself and my family, I don't give a crap. You see, so whatever y'all got to say about Delete Laws, I don't give a crap. This man is over here helping my audience, helping us learn, helping me learn. And we're going to take this information that you presented and we're going to add it to the 14-point black male political statement that we're working on. So let me, on behalf of all of my followers, let me get up close to the mirror. All you Delete Laws trolls, fuck you. How about that? All right, now take that and shove it up where the sun don't shine. So I apologize for that, but I guess they didn't know who they were dealing with. But anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt you with that diatribe, but you know, that's what I do. So anyway, let's get back to the seriousness here, man. And let's give a shout out, big shout out, everybody, all the people who appreciate, man. Y'all type Delete Laws in the chat room, man. Type Delete Laws in the chat room, man. Every time you got somebody you're gonna have haters, man. My Uncle Slim taught, man, if you ain't got no haters, you ain't living right, man. You got haters because you're smart. You got haters because you're doing things. You're a mover, you're a shaker. I like it. You're edgy. I don't give a shit who you are. You see what I mean? But you're coming in here and you're giving us something that no other scholar on YouTube is giving us. So I appreciate that. And you know, I'm not laying it out like this, but go ahead, man.
The number one thing that affects a young black man in the United States of America is Terry versus Ohio. There is nothing that affects you more because you can make it. You can do it on your own. The victim mentality for young black men is slowly going, F you. We are not victims, right? Your problem is being stopped because you fit the description and I'm suspicious of you and there's no probable cause. The number one issue that you need to share with every single young black man is that Terry versus Ohio is in your community. It is in your children, in your dad, your brother, any large black man. I'm suspicious of you. Now I can treat you like you are my, and you will be a POW style of arrest. Now you in 9 out of 10 stops when you in Terry. That would be my message.
Did you hear that? You're in 9 out of 10 stops if you in Terry versus Ohio. So here's what I talked to you guys the other day. All right. And I'm going to go in. I want to talk about something else because as far as I'm concerned, we got to do away with taxpayers paying for these high settlements. But Terry versus Ohio, it's not, you know, and I agree with Chili. You know, ending qualified immunity is third or fourth down the line. Terry versus Ohio is your number one adversary. You want to stop the police contact. You don't want them, unless they have probable cause, which means unless they saw you commit a crime or someone told you they committed a crime, you committed a crime, they can't bother you. They got to leave you alone. And so that's why we got to get rid of that. And I'm not anti-cop. I'm not against cops. We need peace officers. We need peacekeepers, okay? But what we don't need is folks who are looking for laws to enforce where there's no law that needs to be enforced. Okay, that's what I'm saying. Now, here's the thing. I want to kind of pivot and I want to talk to you. I want to just have a free thinking session here. Okay, so I got this brainy idea because I understand how corporations work and so do you. You've laid that out. I'm tired of taxpayers having to pay these enormous judgments because you got road cops out here beating up folks. And so now the taxpayer in some town or some city has to pay millions and millions. I think New York has probably paid out $100 million over the past 20 years for cops.
Quarter billion.
$250 million. Did you hear that? All you New Yorkers,
I think
they paid $250 million over the past few decades for cops.
No. Any last year.
Oh no.
Someone Google that for us. I'm telling you.
Are you serious? Oh,
yeah. It's crazy. It's hundreds of millions of dollars every year.
And that's not right for New Yorkers. That's not right for Americans in general. These police officers need to be responsible for their own practices, their own malpractice, if you will. Look, doctors have malpractice insurance. Dentists have malpractice insurance. Lawyers have malpractice insurance. So police officers need to get insurance for their malpractice. Here's what this does. What this means is now you got this independent third party, Lloyd's of London or Allstate or whatever the hell you got, assessing this liability. So you got a cop here. Damn, somebody said $933.7 million
last year.
Holy, that's how much we've paid, taxpayers have paid.
Was it last year?
For cops? What year was that, Chuck P? Chuck P, what year was that? I hope that wasn't 1 year. I hope that wasn't 1 year.
I think it is. 2 years. It's crazy the amount of money.
Y'all need to fact check that because that's going to be a whole program. Fact check that. Oh my God. Hold on. You lost my train of thought. But there's other places we need to put this money. Okay. Like money is important. I'm a fiscal conservative, very much so, and that's why I live well below my means. And the last thing I want is for my taxes to have to go up or for us to have to vote to increase taxes for some bond because some rogue cop has cost my town or my city, some multi-million-dollar judgment for doing something they shouldn't have done. And, you know, hell, if they go to jail or not, you're still costing us money. Because even if the cop doesn't get punished, guess who gets punished? The taxpayers of that town or that state. So what we need to do is make these cops get insurance policies to insure themselves for the malpractice that they commit. Now, here's what that does: delete laws and shoot me down if I'm wrong. But don't literally, but yell me straight, you know, yell at me if I'm wrong here. What that does is it says, okay, you got 14 complaints, you got sued once, you're uninsurable. And if we're going to insure you, your premium is going to be $500 or $600 a month. And so the other cops are going to look at that and say, I definitely don't want to have to pay $500 or $600 out of my check a month. It's one thing if the taxpayers have to pay it. It's another thing if the only way I can get insured, which will then allow me to practice my profession, i.e., safe. What do you call it? Peacekeeping.
Rights protection.
Then that's going to be too much. So I'm going to make sure I monitor myself because now I got some skin in the game. You see what I mean, man? Like,
well,
go ahead. Tell me where I'm wrong in that scenario.
Well, you know, obviously I'm not a huge cop supporter.
Right.
Law enforcement, cop, police. I'm all for rights protectors. And here's the really strange part. And then I'll tell you my thought here. I've met good cops. They sign up to an evil empire and they end up being a part of something they didn't know they were joining. Read the Mullen Commission, get it on delete laws for free, and downloads. Read the Mullen Commission. But Uncle Denny, you know, I've given a lot.
Hold on a minute. I'm sorry. Proposed NYPD expense budget for fiscal 2022 is $5.44 billion, representing 5.5% of the city's total budget, and that is what they're allowing for. Embedded in that is you're allowing. That's ridiculous. Oh my
100
God.
or 200 million. So
yeah, that's crazy, man.
So
go ahead. Go ahead and finish your statement there.
No. Well, when you really think it through, as I have, and I'm going to be presenting an entire new system called transparency pretty soon. But what you're saying, what it does, the actual functionality of what you're saying, is it creates a third party who determines who a good cop was and who a good cop is not. And what it actually does is it makes your complaint mean something, because currently reading the Mullen Commission, you'll find out your complaint means deadly. It's paper. It's toilet. But what a third party insurance company means, you would be able to then go, like you can go to city's bond, you'd be able to file a complaint with the insurance company on that cop. Now the insurance, they're trying to save money. So they would then say, well, if you complain to us, then we can up their insurance. And so the Fraternal Order of Police, the reason why there's such stiff well, we can't allow cops to, no, it's because it puts an arbitrator between the public and police. And the Fraternal Order of Police are just super police. They're the most policey. So they're the most blue. So it literally creates a third party arbitrator that can determine whether or not you get to keep your job as a cop. And then the Fraternal Order of Police loses all their power. All of it, gone, drained.
You put it, you put big business in charge of vetting these cops. And here's the thing: I don't think insurance companies are going to disagree with it. You know, the only people that may disagree with this are the police unions. But
why? Why?
Oh, because you know, they want to keep. Well, you tell us why.
Absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Right.
Imagine if, Uncle D, if I was an attorney in your firm, and no matter what I did with a client, you sat on the bar in Texas as well, and you're just never going to be able to get rid of me. I could sleep with my clients, and nothing's going to happen to me, right?
Yeah.
And now someone comes along and goes, hey, listen, we're going to put a third party over here where Chili's got to pay an insurance to make sure that his conduct is good, and someone can complain to that third party. What are you going to say?
Yeah, and see, here's the thing. You know, as a lawyer, what I often do is if I got two behemoths, I'll let them fight it out amongst each other to figure out who's at fault. Like, if let's say I got two 18-wheelers in an accident and they hit my client, I'll sue both of them and let them sort it out to figure out who's at fault. And I'll just sit back and say, yeah, one of y'all is going to be at fault. And then all I got to do is prove up my damages. So if I got Lloyd's of London fighting with the Fraternal Order of Police, those are two behemoths. I don't have to fight. Lloyd's of London wants their money. Hey, you know what? It went into place. Now you got to pay if you want these cops. Well, no, that's not fair. But they'll figure it out. Now the insurance company and their lobby is saying, hey, yeah, we want this. This is a good idea, a way for us to get more money in our coffers. And then you got the Fraternal Order of Police in their lobby saying, hey, we don't like this. And then, I don't care who wins. I'm going to get something out of it, and I don't have to spend a dime. Tell me where I'm wrong in that line of thinking. And the link is in the chat room. Anybody who wants to come in, link is in the chat room. But go ahead, Chiller.
Danny, listen, do me a favor, man. If you're going to bring anybody up, I'll probably have to go.
No, when we finish, I'm gonna let.
Otherwise,
don't worry. No,
bombarded with trolls.
I got it.
So Uncle Denny, there's
it's Dennis, man, Uncle D. Just call me Uncle D or Dennis, man. You can just call me Dennis.
Dennis, if you allow it's over. Fraternal Order Police are done. It's defunct. It's gone because we don't need them. They don't need to exist.
Tell me why they're a problem in your opinion. The Fraternal Order of Police.
Oh my God. Okay, so you may have heard about a bill, SB 2319, I believe, in Arizona, which it was written by the Fraternal Order of Police. And then what they did was they took a guy named John Kavanaugh, who's retired in New York, worked in the harbor for 20 years. And he moved to Paradise Valley, Scottsdale, Arizona. And then the Fraternal Order of Police, they funded his campaign. And then they gave him a bill that said, you'll be limited how close you can film police to 8 feet. And then he submitted the bill into Congress, and Democrats, Republicans both are nightstick lickers. And so the bill passed. And then you know what happened? A federal judge put a quash on it and said, no, that's unconstitutional. You can't stop people from filming from any amount of
I want you to, you've been here an hour and a half. I appreciate your time. How can these folks get in contact with you? I want my guys. I want my ladies. I want all my new Kevin Samuels fans. Hit the KS button if you're Kevin Samuels fans. I know Kevin ain't talked about this, but the bottom line is, how can they find you on YouTube? Delete Laws. Where's your channel? Tell us, what do you talk about? How often do you go live? How often do you post videos? I want them to know how to find you. Go ahead.
Well, you can go to Delete Laws here, delete and then LAWZ, and you can find me. Go to deletelaws.com, go to my store. If you go to my store and get that trifold, whether you get the $5 one that you download and you just print it up, if you memorize those cases on that trifold, you will know your rights to a point where then if you question me and say, hey, what does this mean? Then I'll be able to answer your questions. And I answer all emails, so it doesn't matter what your question is, because if young black men don't carry the torch of overturning Terry, then you're not going to do nothing. It has to be the black community that's outraged about it, and there's my website right there. You guys are more welcome to go there. I have a poster that matches this poster, and you can get a copy of that. It's a digital poster, or you can get the hard copy poster as well. And that's what I do for a living. This is all I do. And I'm never going to stop. I won't stop.
How can they get it? Tell them again how they can get a copy of that poster.
You're looking at it right there, Dennis. You have right there. That's it right there. You can get a hard copy one. They're a little spendy. They're like $99 or $139 for the really laminated one. But the $99 one I like better. And then those trifolds right there. But then you get a digital poster if you want to work with kids on an iPad, because the digital poster, just so you guys know, there's like every single president of the United States, every single historical figure through the civil rights era. It's just so much information. And just there's so much information on it that starting in the beginning of October, I will be locked down for 3 months teaching segment by segment of my poster. So that's so much data.
All right, man. I want to just personally thank you for your appearance here today. I hope that because this is for my audience, and I know this is a treat for them. Instead of having me screaming at them for an hour and a half, they got you educating them on something that's real life. And I have friends here in YouTube, Dr. Tiasan Johnson. I've already had a conversation with him. This is your idea. I want everybody to understand, all you guys in the Black Manosphere to understand that, yeah, I knew about Terry versus Ohio, but I did not do enough research into this to know how much of an effect it was. But the thing about me, I know brilliance when I hear it, and I know something that's really effective when I hear it. I'm the guy who can pick the team. I can pick the winning team for you. I'm the one who gets your draft choices. And so Terry versus Ohio is a first round draft choice if you want to really do away with the criminality in the police force. Okay, if you want to do away with these unnecessary stops, 9 out of 10 stops are allowed, and because of Terry versus Ohio. This is the idea of delete laws. So that's what I want you guys to understand. You know, oftentimes we parsect ourselves off into this region and that region and this manosphere and that manosphere and those YouTube gods. But this right here is gold. This is a gold mine. This is an excellent idea. This is the soft spot. This is what we need to attack. I want you to contact your senators. I want you to contact your state representatives. The next time that large, heavy-set woman from says she wants the black male vote, I want you to say, well, what are you going to do about Terry versus Ohio and its effect here in the state of Georgia? What are you going to do about restricting cops back to having probable cause before they can pull you over, before they can pat you down? That's what we're interested in. We want a constitutionally driven and regulated police force, not this, activist Supreme Court from the 1960s and their law, which still stands. Terry versus Ohio. This is delete laws' idea, and it's going to go up on the 14-point black male political agenda. And I want it to be known throughout time that this came from this particular collaboration. Just like in the 1960s, we had Martin Luther King and we had Thurgood Marshall actually and his defense fund. They had Jewish lawyers, they had white lawyers, they had black lawyers, they had brilliant minds working together for change to make this country a better place. What black Americans have done is force throughout our history, is force this country to honor the promises that it made. And this is what we're doing right now. So anyway, man, shout out to you, Delete Laws, man. Thank you so much, man. F those haters. You keep doing what you do. Y'all make sure y'all go to his channel and y'all donate, man. For all the money you didn't give me tonight, y'all make sure y'all go over to the Delete channels and y'all show him some love, man. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate you. I'm going to go ahead and take a little time. I'm going to take a little break. We'll come right back. I'm going to let a couple of folks in. You're welcome to hang out in the chat room, but again,
I'm going to go. It'll save you a bunch of frustration. Listen, thank you. Love you guys. Thank you, Dennis. I appreciate your time. Have a good night, guys. I'm out. Bye.
All right.
Hey, if you're enjoying the content here at Dennis Sperling Unfiltered, make sure you support it by sharing, and subscribing to the channel. And also, hit that little notification bell in the corner so that you'll get notice of each and every one of our live feeds. Thank you, everybody, for your contributions. I appreciate it. Let's keep it going. Donate to the Super Chat. Donate to the PayPal. Donate to the Cash App. It's your contributions and your donations that'll cause for this platform to grow. Let our voice be the preeminent voice in Black America.
Yay. What's up, you guys? We're back. Welcome back to the broadcast, man. I enjoyed that, man. That was invigorating. That reminds me of those law school days, sitting in there debating and arguing with other law students. But I'm gonna just tell you, I've never heard it put like that. And like I see when he's talking about these laws, because of life experience, I can see the different scenarios that play out, and so that's important. So I'm gonna go ahead and get with Dr. Tiasan Johnson, and I think maybe I'll give him my thoughts. I actually spoke with him today, but regarding the black male 14-point agenda, and I'm going to pull that up for you guys to take a look. And by the way, the link is in the chat room. Anybody who wants to come in, I know sometimes, when you get all that information, you just need to debrief because it's mind opening, so to speak. But this is on Dr. Tiasan Johnson's page. It's on the new Black Masculines WordPress. And what I'm talking about is, you got 14 different points. Black male political agenda, and anybody can refer to this, okay? But if you go down to part 6 here, let me bring this part up. Education, law enforcement, right? Criminal sentencing reform, licensing law enforcement, proxy violence, unqualified immunity, jury nullification, false accusations, minimum age criminality responsibility, intimate partner violence, homicide, police reform. Let me see here. Yeah. So right here, okay, right after minimum criminality, we need to add overruling Terry versus Ohio. Okay. And in my opinion, also forcing police officers to get insurance bonds so the taxpayers don't have to pay it. I think that's important. So I'll talk. Y'all make sure y'all tag Dr. Tiasan Johnson on this broadcast and let him know that his name was mentioned several times and we appreciate his work. And, you know, I love being able to get thoughtful, intelligent people who've researched these things, these different laws and concepts in the great detail, and bringing them on the broadcast. I think it's worth it. You know, if you heard something you liked tonight, hit the #1 button. Let me know. And again, the link is in the chat room. Anybody who wants to come in, I'd love to hear your input. You know, and you know the thing about Chili, he's got all that. He's like a ball of energy over there. You know what I mean? With the charts and the, you know, he's like the you know, he's got this in there with his charts and whatnot. Man, the man has got you know, a lot to get out, you know, and it's just great to be able to talk to somebody who's so passionate about the subject. And so what I want you guys to do, if you want to come talk, come on in. I saw some folks in here. I want to make sure I shout out to Project 8020, man. You guys come in, man. Don't be afraid, man. I know that's a hard act to swallow, hard act to follow. There's a lot to swallow too. My God. I mean, who could ever, right? But you know, come on in, man. Shout out to my guy Alvin. Alvin, welcome. Good having you here, man. I'm glad you're here. Did you hear anything you could work with on that? I mean, I heard a lot. What are your thoughts? You gotta unmute yourself.
I heard a lot too. You know, I think we all, you know, I was telling you I was touching base, or you know, because I follow him also, and you know, I have been seeing a lot of the interactions. You know, we've been seeing these interactions on video for a really long time, right?
Right.
And a lot of times, you know, it's like, why are you communicating with that person in the first place? And really getting to the beginning of it is like, you shouldn't even be engaging with these people. There's no reason for you to have to talk to them. And the funny thing about it is police have been doing it for so long that they don't even really know that it's not okay for them to do it.
It's Terry versus Ohio.
And so,
so I mean, just so they understand, for my folks overseas, in America, the cops can come give you a hard time, even if you haven't committed a crime. In other words, Terry versus Ohio lets them, hey, if I think you committed a crime for whatever crazy reason I have going on in my head, then I can come up and pat you down and search you for weapons in the name of my safety. Not that you've committed a crime. Nobody said you committed a crime. I didn't see you commit a crime. I just think you might have committed a crime because if as long as after it's all over with, I can say I had a reasonable, articulable suspicion. Your girlfriend is suspicious that you cheated on her, but that's not proof, right? That's no reason for her to slash your tires, right, Alvin? Break your window,
or key my car. Yeah, no.
All your clothes out. What if all your girlfriend needed to burn your house down was that she suspected? Okay, she suspected you cheated. Okay, that suspicion is I didn't do nothing. You see what I mean? This is what police officers have more rights to beat you up than your girlfriend. You see 100%. What I mean? Think about that, man. That's crazy. But go ahead, brother.
Crazy. No, I really, you know, obviously, you know, because of the first time you had him on, I watched, and you know, and he came in kind of hot and so on, and obviously, you know, as Black people, you know, we understand what the police can do,
right,
and what they have been doing. So bridging that gap between trying to comply and knowing your rights, that gray area is where we get jacked up sometimes, right? And so, you know, it's like standing up for yourself is cool, but like I got my ribs cracked once by some cops in Denver standing up for myself.
So let me give you a scenario. Now it's illegal for the police officers to come up to you unless they've seen you commit a crime or someone told you they committed a crime. So what does that mean? They can't pull you over for walking down the street. They can't pull you over for driving unless they see you actually commit some sort of infraction. On top of that, they can't pull you out of their car because there's no longer Terry versus Ohio. You see what I mean? They got to have probable cause. They got to know you committed a crime or are about to commit a crime before they can arrest you. Look, you see how much that shuts down? How many times have you been minding your business and you look at the cop this way and he just get behind you and pull you over? Well, you look suspicious. Yeah. But I haven't committed a crime. Well, you look suspicious, so give me your driver's license. Let me pat you down, or I'm gonna pat you down. You see what I mean? You stop all that. If they don't see you do it, that's a wrap. That's why Chili was saying, you know, we need a camera system, and if it ain't on camera, then it didn't happen. You see what I'm saying? Go ahead. Yeah.
No, I'm glad that this is we need, you know, I said it the other day, we need to learn our rights. You know, we really don't know the details of our rights, right? It's interesting. I think a lot of people have a kind of a skewed sense of what it is, right? They're like, I have freedom of speech, right? Everyone says, oh, I got a freedom of speech. Well, yeah, that you do, but you know, it doesn't mean you can't lose your job. That doesn't mean that the guy standing across from you ain't gonna whoop your ass if you say something. You know, it just means that the government's not gonna prosecute you. So, you know, I think a lot of times people kind of have this like I don't want to say half-ass, but just they don't know the law completely. And so these educational tools that he has and these kind of conversations are great for people to hear because they're very useful. You know, I just watched a clip of a lady shot, you know, not let some cops into her home. Her neighbors called the cops on them, and she opened the door, and there's 6 cops standing out in front of her house. Now,
I saw that they didn't have probable cause, and the cop was trying to talk her way
into the house.
And she was like, "Hey, just let me do my job." She's like, "No, unless you have probable cause, you can't come in. You just picking on me because I got a new car and the neighbors are jealous." Blah 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 blah. Yeah, it's crazy, man. Yeah. But anyway, man, I appreciate you. I'm not going to keep everybody here. I'm about to retire for the evening. I think this is enough for everybody to digest. It's been a great broadcast. What I'm gonna do is, man, I'm just gonna say this. Look, we need political change. We agree to that. We also need, and under that political change, we need to do away with this police brutality, or at least take a big chunk out of the power that cops have to harass you to folks. And so the way in which we do that is by what? We take away their power to even come talk to you. You know, we unless you see me commit a crime, there's nothing to say. And that's what Terry versus Ohio allowed. It's a gateway. It's the gateway drug. Terry versus Ohio is the weed. You see what I'm saying? And then by the time you get to 2022, 2021, you got George Floyd. You see, this is where we're at, man. Without Terry versus Ohio, cops don't have their way into your life. And this is where we are. And I want you guys to listen to that. All right, so now you got your marching orders. I believe the other day we talked about reparations, and now you see folks, and I'm going to talk about that some more. And, you know, the thing is, man, I got a lot of pushback from a lot of our African brothers and a lot of folks. Hey, man, don't talk about that. Look, y'all don't want us over there. Y'all have already made that clear. You had 400 years to invite us back. You don't want us over there. All right, so just give us some money. You understand what I'm talking about? And we'll stay right here where we at. But reparations is something that's got to happen. Okay. And that's also number 14 on the agenda. All right. And the other thing that I talked to you guys about, we talked about family law reform. Right. And yeah, you say you want family law reform, but unless you know about Title 4D and the incentive it provides to the states to put child support on men, then damn. You see what I'm saying? There you go. So now we know what we need to do. Now we have our marching orders. Again, Terry versus Ohio. And I'm not anti-cop. Okay. I like delete laws, peace officer. I do like that. We need peace officers. We don't need race soldiers and law enforcement officers looking to enforce laws where there's no need to enforce them. We need peace officers. We need a safe society to exist in, but we don't need police officers overstepping their bounds, especially when it's a clear violation of the 4th and the 14th Amendment of the Constitution, which says you have the right to be safe in your effects and your things in your homes. Any American appreciates that. If you're here in the reason why stop and frisk just doesn't pass the smell test with Americans, because we know innately our rights. We know that if anybody else just ran up on us, some person ran up on us and said, hey, let me just pat you down, that would be assault, that would be battery, that would be a crime. But because some cop says, I think you might have done something, or I have reasonable suspicion to think you might do something, I can come touch all over you and take all your stuff out of your pocket like you're a child walking into a first grade classroom and they think you stole the crayons. No red-blooded American wants to deal with that. No woman, no man, no nobody. And so you should be safe in your effects. So what I'm saying is we know as Americans innately that there's a problem with Terry versus Ohio. We know in America innately there's an issue with the way policing is enforced in this country. And the source is what? It is Terry versus Ohio. So we need to get that removed from, we need to get some legislation to have that deemed unconstitutional and then do away with it. But other than that, man, I want to give a big shout out to Delete Laws. Thank you, Alvin. I appreciate you, man. You well on your way, man. Being the host, I might give you the keys to the kingdom, and next thing it'll be, Alvin.
I'm just trying to help. I'm trying to support, man, because you talk about all the things that I care about that are important to me, and and you don't have all the fluff. Sorry to
it's all good. Yeah, man, it's gonna be one day. I'm gonna pop up. It's gonna be Project 8020. I got the mic now. Dennis is gone. It's my shit now, man. I'm up.
We working on it.
Oh man, well, I'm looking for my replacement, man. I'm tired, bro. I'm old, man. I'm ready to go and spend my money and retire on the beach somewhere. But anyway, shout out to everybody. Thank you all for hanging out. I appreciate everybody. This has been a great broadcast. I appreciate it, man. I'm enjoying myself, man. This has been cool, man. And just think about what we said. If you appreciate what we're doing here, you're always welcome to hit the thumbs up button. I wish we could have got more thumbs up, but that's all right. I know people will see this. This is for posterity. And other than that, man, as I always say at this time, this is Uncle D, and I am out.